Good morning, Vietnam. Wow. The biggest reaction of the weekend. I say that not because of the famous Robin Williams movie, but because of a story I heard about last year's EMC convention. One guy in Vietnam registered. Didn't know any magicians. There were no magic clubs, virtually no magic books in his country, but he was crazy for magic. And he registered for EMC. And he wrote later and said that it changed his life. It was the greatest thing that had ever happened to him. And when I heard that story, I realized this is truly a global event, and I'm thrilled to be part of it once again. We have a tough mountain to climb to try to live up to what happened yesterday here. We had such a great variety of talks, and I think we can equal that today with a great variety. And the beginning of all this is a gentleman who, well, I can't imagine that there's anyone in the world who doesn't know this performer. He said he was worried. He thought, well, maybe there's viewers out around the world there that don't know me. He said it's possible that they could have been born since his long-running BBC series went off the air. Well, I don't know. If there is anyone, let me just say this. For 16 years on the BBC in England, he had his own magic series, and, well, one of the biggest names in magic in the world. All of us have been crazy for magic all of our lives, but few of us have achieved the level of success that this performer has. You're about to see why. Please welcome Paul Daniels.
That's me. What a good guy. Mike Caveney. Excellent person, excellent person. Now then, my name is Paul Daniels, international sex symbol and bodybuilder, and I have been asked to talk about grasping opportunities. Now, that's a bit tough because I didn't know I was going to talk about that until I got on the plane. But I do now. Now, grasping opportunities. When people come and see my live show, they're always a little bit surprised because anything happens, anywhere, at any time, and I fire off on it. I leave what I want to do, and I will go and I will talk about that. I will just shoot off. And to me, everything becomes a joke. Everything. I am a comedic performer, but don't go away. If you entertain children, or if you do all this finger flinging, you know, the stuff, it might be useful for you. First of all, there's more than one kind of opportunity. There's do you mind if I open my original iPad? Right, this is it. Everything's a joke. It's accidental opportunities and created opportunities. Now, accidental opportunity is something that happens in the show that you weren't expecting, and you have to turn it to your own advantage. I have examples of that. For example, you might go to, I don't know whether it's on there, pauldaniels.co.uk. For the international audience who really don't know, every country's got its own ending on addresses. So, .fr, France, okay? ES, Spain. Doesn't start with ES, but it does in Spain. And then you've got .co.uk, pauldaniels.co.uk, and you might see the full routine I do with the rings. But one day, I've got the girl here, and I say to her something or other, and we're going to do the ring routine, and a kid in the audience shouts, "I've got a set of them at home." Now, if you are really not comfortable on the stage, if you really don't know your material, if you really are thinking, oh, now I must do this and I must put this here, if you're like that, you couldn't do what I did. I said, really? Come here. And I got the child out onto the audience and I said, now have a look at these. Look, there's no hole in that, is there? And he said, no. And I said, and there's no hole in this. And I just did the standard drag round move. And he agreed. I said, well, will you please, what you've got is a set of rings that we sell to children so they can play at being a magician. But this is a professional set. Can we get a professional? Anyway, and I said to him, so look, it's solid ring, right? And he said, yeah. I said, never buy the set made in Hong Kong. They have a hole cut through this side instead of your set, which is cut on that side. And I'm now into a completely loose, different routine. But when this happened, as we all know how to do that, you know, when that happened, that kid went, whoa! And it's been in the routine ever since. Talk about the hole in the ring, I did, because of Ali Bongo, God bless Ali Bongo, who once told me, if you can't hide it, paint it red. Okay? So that's that. Another moment. No, please. You know, the electronic clock. Listen, I've got to tell you, another moment, I'm kind of known for doing it. It's become a signature tune, this thing. And again, a fella, I was doing the routine, which I think I'm doing here tomorrow night, and a guy in the audience shouted out, "You've got 2 balls." So I said, well, how many of you got Superman? And you see, you can turn everything round to your advantage if you follow some tips. Oh, by the way, I'll give you a tip on this, which I wasn't going to do, but I will. I found out, for those who don't know, you use more than 1 ball. Huh? Do you want to buy a set? You see, I kept doing this, all right, like you do, and the ball was sometimes not there. And I couldn't figure that at all. If you play with one of these, sometimes on your close-up mat, when you do that, the ball will not be there. And one day I heard something, and I figured it out. It hits the mat, and it bounces back up to the top, and the gizmo grabs it again, and it's not there. So if you want to guarantee it in the future, if you want to do this, bring it down at the diagonal like that, okay, like that, and the ball goes doo, 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 doo. And it can't remember the way back up. So that's, okay. But this only comes from the performance and the comfort of knowing what you know. You have to know your material inside out and backwards to be in this comfort zone. How do I arrive at the comfort zone? In the beginning, and this is the only way, it's no good if opportunity comes hammering on your door. You will not even know it's there. You won't hear it, you won't recognize it. You have to know all the material yourself so that when the moment comes for the opportunity, you can dare to grab it. This is even in the accidental, and I'll come to the deliberate in a moment. Now, what you do is, if you know all of this stuff, I got to it by deciding I'm going to do the chop cup. So, literally on a big pad at home, and I recommend you write it down. Don't do this on a computer because I know you'll forget to back up, and all your ideas will disappear into the ether. So what you do is you do this, okay? Write it down, write it down. And I wrote down everything to do with the chop cup, okay? All the props, and then I would make jokes about it. Example, I'm going to use the cup. Everybody knows that. But it's got a ball, and it's got a table, and it's got me, and it's got my clothes, and it's got him, the man I'm going to pick on. And if in this entire seminar you get one bit of advice, if you're a working magician, this is it, all right? We have all walked on to noisy rooms. I started in what are known social clubs, workmen's clubs. And this is how to shut a room up. It really works, okay? You got the cup, you got the bowl. I'm going to pick on my next prop, a man. Okay? Now, alongside all of those, I've written every possible joke I can think of. And if you're not a joking person, think of the stories about the cup and the ball and the Valley of the Kings in Egypt and tell them. Make it more, not just a trick. Anybody can do tricks. But the question that shuts a room up. What's your name? Yeah, you don't have to answer. It's just a demonstration. You just say, what's your name? The whole room goes, who's he talking to? You know, everybody is nosy like this. And so they all go, who's he talking to? And then I say, and where are you from? And what's your occupation? And these I make jokes about. I've already made my lists. I don't use them all. But what I'm saying is, I'm now in a real comfort zone. I am making material out of him, and they're all dead quiet. And to quieten a room in my occupation, in my job, is very, very important. So I recommend, you know, you want to steal that? Steal it. Okay, now I'm going to come on to created opportunities, where people think I'm lucky. People say, hey, Paul, you're lucky, you know. They see my wife, Debbie, is very lovely, and they say, phew, you're so lucky having a wife like that. They don't know how many I auditioned. But this is my wife. So I'm not lucky. No, luck is a moment of opportunity, which I hope in the future you'll be able to see and grab. Moment of opportunity that meets years of preparation. Everything you do has to be honed down so you are so comfy, you know what's going to happen, you know you're never going to drop it, you don't give a shit if you do drop it, it doesn't matter. Everything is cool and easy, all right? Created opportunity. Think of what you want to do, and then think of how you could possibly get there. In my instance, I was taken by the BBC, well, an independent company, for the BBC, and dropped in the middle of America. And the job was, I had to make a living totally unknown. By the next night, I was on television, and the following day there was a double-page spread in the local newspapers, and I got a booking in a comedy club where the compere had tried to get in for about 9 months, and I was in. And I wasn't allowed to use my fame name, I wasn't allowed to use the internet, all of that was banned. How did I do that? Well, it was July the 4th, which, as you know, big day in America. In America they call it Independence Day, in England we call it Thanksgiving. Anyway, so what happened was, I got in this taxi to go down to town, and the taxi driver said, are you English? And I said, yes, I'm English. And he said, what are you doing in town? And I said, well, I'm traveling across America doing magic tricks for tips. And I said, really? Show us, you know, show us something. At the next traffic lights, I did a straightforward color change, nothing clever, in the mirror, you know, just like that. I took this away, did that into the mirror, and he went, hey, that's not bad. I said, well, if you think that, here, phone them and tell them. When we got into the town, not many around, independent little cameras filming me from secret positions, and everybody I met who said, hey, that's a good trick, 'cause I was doing card tricks, you know. And they would say, well, phone them up, phone them up. The night before I'd arrived in town, been put into a motel, I asked the motel guy if he had yellow pages, and I had written the names of all the newspapers and the address, the phone numbers, and the local TV and the local radio. And when I went to lunch, and I did a trick on the waitress, she says, wow, that's good. You really think so? Phone them and say so. And so she phoned the TV, and they said, we're hearing about this guy all over the place. Where is he? He says, well, he's in my restaurant. Keep him there. The BBC crew with their little cameras were amazed to see the big guys with the big cameras and all that. And that night I had a 1-hour spot on the TV. So I took the opportunity by creating it. Okay? There's been so many times when people say to me, oh, I can't get on TV. Have you told them you exist? You know, you've got to create your own opportunities. Nobody's going to come and find you. I don't care how big a star or how clever you are at whatever. You know, I'm telling you, they will not understand. You will not be heard of. You have to go to them, find a way to tell them. That's creating opportunities. I wanted to get on television the first time. I found a man who hyped records into the charts, and then he went and sat in the BBC until they would come and see me. He never left for 3 days. He slept there, wouldn't go. I created the opportunity. Now, when you get the opportunity, you have to have something to sell. It's no good being a goofy, bad at the job, and you have a real problem out there on the internet, because a lot of you guys are learning from real schmucks on the internet. You are learning from kids who have never done anything and going, I've got a trick to show you. I'm on the television. You can't trick for three cards like that. You'll never learn. What you should be doing is looking at you like I looked at me. I'm you know, what does he say? He's one of the biggest names in magic. I'm also one of the littlest guys, okay? When it rains, I'm the last to get wet. But it doesn't matter to me. All I know is I love what I do, I enjoy what I do, and I take every opportunity, and I've worked at it. I work like hell at it. So nothing I do is accidental. If you want to know, you see something and you just turn it to your advantage. I did a show in Downing Street. That's like England's White House. And there was a kid in the audience, there was a lot of entertainers, and she wasn't enjoying herself. And I'm going to put this in. I have no idea how long I've got or anything, because the electronic device we're using has broken down. Could you just hold it a bit higher? Quick, look at this. This is the electronic device that, in the midst of all this high-tech stuff, there it is. Yeah. Does that mean I've done it, or I've got that to go? I've done it. Hey, okay. So everything's a prop. But if you come in this situation, please try this. Please. Grasp the opportunity. I said, why isn't that little girl enjoying the show? And it was a lady in waiting. Royals were there. And she went over and came back and she said, because she's blind. If you ever come across this situation, try this. I got on the stage, a lot of disabled kids. I grasped the opportunity. I said, we have one little girl, did some stuff, one little girl who can't see. And I went through the crowd and I said, what's your name? Whatever, Sarah, come with me, come with me, come with me. And I put her on. And you know, what names do you know it by? The Professor's Nightmare, the Unequal Ropes. I put him on here and I told the story of the 3 bears to the little girl. And there was a daddy bear, a mommy bear, and a baby bear. Reach out. And she reached out, and I made sure I slid the rope into her hand, and I pick it up and feel the length, all right? Grasping an opportunity, she felt the length. That's the daddy bear. It's the biggest one, okay? And I put it into her hand. Feel the next one. That's the mommy bear. And now feel a little tiny bit. And she's feeling all the lengths of them, okay? Feeling. And I'm putting them into her hand. Now, okay, I'm cheating. They're behind the girl's hand just like they'd be behind our hands when we're doing this trick, all right? And who's the one person who can't see it? The little girl. Okay, so I do the usual lap over, and they all went to sleep, and the baby bear dreamed that he dreamed, and he dreamed that he dreamed, and he stretched like that. And you should have seen this kid's face. Oh, and I'm going, the mothers are going, and everybody's going. That's acting. And then she pulls it like that, and then at the end, when it all gets better, got a big round of applause, she goes back. Taking an opportunity. You've got to take the opportunity, especially as that little girl went on my coat afterwards. And I said, oh, hello, Sarah, what's the matter? She says, that's the first magic trick I've ever seen. Oh, now I'm crying, and everybody's crying. It's grasping opportunities like that that will make you have a fabulous life in this wonderful business called magic. And it's my business. Okay, it might just be your hobby. It might just be your fun. Lord knows you might be making your family suffer. Good. So long as you enjoy yourself, that's the thing. So whichever kind of magic you go for, if you go for pro magic, if you go for, mind-reading magic, if you're doing this kind of magic where it's very beautiful, think of Salvano, think of Fantasio, who even in the midst of the beautiful magic, there was always a touch of humor, a touch of comedy. I specialize in comedy. But think about what you're doing at all levels, and then think, where can I place it? And in the future, when that moment comes, you'll be putting it in the right place, and you will have grasped an opportunity.
Paul Daniels. Thank you, sir. Lovely. Paul Daniels.
Lovely man.
Some of you are wondering, how do these 33 people get picked to come to Portugal? Well, Paul Daniels came to Studio 33, and for 3 nights he slept out in the lounge. And finally, Luis said, all right, give the kid a chance and put him on. That's how it's done. I am a big fan of FISM. I go to FISM every 3 years. I sit in the theater, I watch 130 stage acts. And some people think that's crazy. I look forward to it every 3 years. Because every once in a while you get very lucky and you see a performer like the one you're about to see. He comes from France. He competed. I saw him this past FISM in Beijing, China. And the great thing about EMC is that we have something for everybody. The close-up guys, the stage guys, and if you are a stage manipulator, you are going to love what you are about to see. Here from France is Jordan Gomez.
Hello. It's work? Yeah. Hello everybody, my name is Jordan Gomez. I'm a French magician of 19 years old, and yeah, I became professional since my performance at the FISM in China. So it was 2 years ago now, and just after this event, it was crazy. It was the beginning of a tour that I'm doing again today all over the world, and it was one of my dreams, so I'm very happy to travel everywhere, and I'm truly honored to be part of the EMC. So thank you very much, Luis Matos, because he was one of the first to book my act, and now I'm here in Portugal and also everywhere in the world with that, the magic of internet. Well, I'm supposed to perform my act, as you see, but I'm not ready yet. What a perfect moment to share with you some tips and tricks during my last setup. First of all, I would like to share with you the way I used to find new and effective ideas for making a new stage act, because I use a process for that, and it could be the starting point for your next act. The name of the creation process is brainstorm session. Oh, it doesn't work. The brainstorming is a process created in an advertising agency by Alex Osborne in 1935. In few words, during a brainstorm session, a target is fixed, and the principle is to find the maximum of solutions to go at the target. Today, probably the best ideas of company are made like that, and there are also adaptation according to the kind of target. For example, in magic, we can use it, and I will show you the version that I started to use in 2005 when I made my FISM act. It doesn't work, the slide? No? Okay. I have to improve something because the slide doesn't work. Okay, bon. So this process of creation works if you are alone, but of course it's more effective if you are surrounded by other persons and not only your magician friends. My version of the brainstorm session is in 6 steps. Okay? No? No text? Ah, yeah. 6 steps. So this is the first one. Fix your target and count down. Step 2, fix the requirements. Step 3, imagine the effects. Step 4, try and improvise the effect in front of a camera. Step 5, analyze and keep the best. Step 6, the last one, improvement process. So now let me show you the details with some examples. We come back to the step 1, fix your target and count down. In this case, the target is to make a new act. The countdown could be 20 minutes, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, whatever. Step 2, fix the requirements. This is some example: running time, music, history, character, accessories, budget. Let me say a few words about the budget. If you want to make an act, a stage act, and you don't have so much money to spend, it's not a problem. You just have to open your eyes to find the solution, because there are no problem, only solution. And very often, there are everything for free around you. For example, when I was younger, I decided to never ask any money to my parents for my act, for my passion for magic in general. So I did everything by myself. You know, for example, I wanted to have a confetti shooter, so I cut a foot of an old table and I took the tube to make the confetti shooter. So I was a student, I didn't have a lot of money, but I was curious, and Gaëtan Bloom said that yesterday: if you are curious and you have imagination, then you can have everything. Okay? Now, I don't remember what I say. Okay. Before to come back to the brainstorm session details, let me show you a gimmick that I made with a lighter. It's a flash cotton shooter. Once again, it's easy to buy an electronic gimmick in Magic Shop to produce the same effect, but it's also possible to make one for free and maybe better if you have imagination. For my gimmick, it's simply a lighter with a small tube, black tape around. Inside there are flash cotton. The lighter is attached to a reel. Okay? And this is attached in my jacket under my elbow. And with this effect, with this gimmick, I do the first effect of my act. I'll produce a pack of M&Ms. In fact, it's not really magical, but it looks like. I simply do this move. You see? And I had the flash at the same time, and then it looks like a magical production. But the target of this effect is not to be magical, it's to make a surprise, because it's the first effect of the act. With this gimmick, I also found the solution to make it clockable, because the reel is in metal, you know. So I use a magnet for that. I will try to show you. And it's lockable. To unlock it, I just have to push, and that's it. That's an idea, okay. Thank you. Now, we come back to the brainstorm session. Step 3, imagine the effect. For the moment, don't touch the accessories and don't think about the technique. Everything is possible. Try to find ideas for making for magic effects. It could be great, romantic, funny if I do this, and you continue. Also ask your friend, write all the ideas, even if they are stupid. We are magicians. We know a lot of technique like the palmings, misdirection, black art, thread, new technology, and much more. Now it's time to use your magic knowledge and try to find new effect with the accessories in your hand. For example, okay, I want to make an act with a bag, with a vinyl, balls, CDs, M&Ms, and a CD case. Okay, now we can touch the accessories. So I will show you. Yes, don't forget to record everything with a camera at the same time in front of you, because sometimes we create something great, but we don't feel it. For example, one day, it was 1 year before the FISM, I was doing CD manipulation in front of my camera. In one moment, I did a great move, but I didn't feel anything. It's only when I watched the video 1 year after the FISM that, oh, one miracle, and it was too late. But I did something like this. Okay, here I need 3 CD. 1, 2, 3, and I did my act, okay. So when I watched the video, I saw this move, but I didn't feel anything when I did it. And in fact, now, you know, I do this. It's magical. Okay. Thank you. So now I will show you some other example of effect for my act that I found during this step. Okay, so my bag. Oh, I want to use a headphone. What I can do? Okay, it could be great if I produce my headphone from the logo of my bag, right? So I did it. You know, it's a fake. So this is the explanation, and after simply this, like this, up. I close my bag and I produce my headphone. Okay? Okay, next. Thank you. Okay, in my act I want to be like a DJ. It would be great if, yes, I use this and CDs. Maybe I can make a transformation, so I did it, you know, a vinyl into a CD, magnet here. I know a flip vanish, flap production. I combine the two moves, so now it's a change, okay. Next. Maybe, okay, M&Ms, but how to use the balls? Oh, maybe I can make a transition. An M&Ms, and it's become bigger, and then I do my balls manipulation. That's an idea. Oh, maybe I can have another idea with that. Maybe I can do a change. Oh, nice. Maybe try with 2. And I found this move. 1 ball here. Transposition. 1, you know. Something, thank you. Something like this. Okay. Thank you. Now, okay, this is some example, but you can find more effect like this. Step 4, try and improvise the effect in front of a camera. That's what I did. Record an improvisation of magic effect using your accessories helped by your magic knowledge. And step 5, analyze and keep the best. This is the details. Check your videos of the step 4. Divide all the effects that you found earlier in 2 categories, utopia and feasible. Utopia is like something impossible, only dream, you know. And keep the best of the feasible ideas, effects. Yeah, okay, so I will show you an example. For example, in the first version of my act, I did a CD teleportation from one hand to the other. My bag is open, normally, up. The camera is here. Okay, I did something like this. One CD, come here, and come back. In this step, I tried to make this effect even more amazing. So I did the same move and same technique, but with 2 open CD cases. It looks like normal, but in fact, they are open, you know. I will try to show you with 2 hands. And now, you know, it's more amazing, I think. One CD here, come here, and come back. Thank you. Keep the best, I come back here. Divide all the effects that you have found earlier in 2 categories, yeah. I did it. Step 6, yeah, improvement process. Always try to make an utopia effect into a feasible effect, and always try to make your effect even more amazing. That's what I did, okay. Yeah, these things. How to make an utopia effect into a feasible effect. Because, for example, during the step 3, I had the idea to transform this yellow case in confetti. It was my ideas. So then, during the step 4, with my camera, I tried to find the solution, how to make this effect possible. So I tried many things like the top it, origami ideas, elastic, but nothing worked as I wanted. So during this step, I put this effect in the utopia category, something impossible. And then, a few times later, when I arrived here, in this step, I found the solution, because sometimes, of course, we cannot find a solution in a blink, you know, we need more time. And the solution of this effect is very simple, in fact. It's like a blackout effect. I simply throw the cases with confetti behind in the direction of the backstage. I can tell you that it also works without a black back curtain, because the action is very fast, and I do also a misdirection with the vinyl. I do this move. So when the vinyl is here, I throw the cases. When the vinyl arrives in my hand, the case already hurt a technician in backstage, and the audience sees the confetti. It's a dangerous effect, but yeah, magic. Thank you. Now, okay, well, you have just seen my version of the brainstorm session. So if you want to find new and effective ideas, I truly think that this process will also work for you. And after that, the same as the movie editing, we normally have all the music, all the effects. Now we need transition. And in magic, the transition are the load and unload technique. All the magicians know the top it, but I think there are not so many other ways to learn about. So I will share with you some ideas with the magnets. In my act, I use magnets everywhere, in my bag, in my jacket, in my trousers, and also I also put magnet behind or inside some of my accessories, like the vinyl, as you have seen before, balls, you know, for the load and unload. I will show you after, and everywhere. So, how I unload this vinyl, because it's big, after this transformation, I will show you. My bag is here. Okay, so first, it's a blackout effect. I put it under my elbow, but the attention of the audience is here. And the action is very fast, so you cannot see it. I turn. I do a CD. Okay, I turn like this. The CD changes color, and I put it in this magnet in the back of my... Sorry for my English, but you understand. Now I'm free. This is step 1. After that, I do my hack, and maybe 2 minutes later, oh, I want a CD case. I take my bag. This is the other side. Open it, turn it, I take it, and I take a CD case. You understand? Okay, thank you. So it was an unload in 2 times, now a load in 2 times, because normally all the magicians do hold in 1 time. This is an example. I have magnet here. Yeah. This is an example. 1 ball. The ball vanish. It's here, look. And in the same time, they take it now, okay? Now I do it in 2 times. Okay, I have magnet here in the back of my leg. So first step is take it, place it up. The audience is here, right? The other side. The ball this vanish. My hand go down. I produce. This hand doesn't move. It's the ball who comes to your hand, and you continue. Thank you. Well, now you know a lot about my act and the ball's manipulation. And the last part of my act is more technical. I do CD manipulation. And if you want to learn how to do magic with CD today, I'm happy to share with you some products about the subject. I made 4 online training videos. I explain all the basic and all the techniques, also the load and unload techniques, like the back top it. Oh, it's not here, okay. The back top it, something like that. And I also sell my CDs, they are thinner, CD holders and DVDs. Yeah. So the release date will be on July 10, with free shipping all over the world on jordangomez.fr. Thank you for listening. It was really a pleasure for me to share with you this moment. And now, it's not finished. I have to put the last balls on my holder. I will show you my act just after 2 videos about the CD Magic products. Enjoy. Just one. Yeah, I'm waiting the new album of David Guetta because his music is magic. If you don't believe me, look at his last album.
And now the CD manipulations of Jordan Gomez.
One. Jason's got the disco lights, the strobe lights, party lights. This is how it goes. Somebody tell me where the party at, where the place is live and the hot girls are at, where this dog can find himself a kitty cat, where we can lose our minds like we don't know how to act. Let me know if it's here. Let me know if we're close. Let me know if we're near. If not, then me. We can go somewhere. It's party over here. Party over there.
Moving all over me. Whatever it is, no man can see. From the crown of my head to the sole of my feet. Spirit is moving, spirit is moving, spirit is moving all over me.
Come on. Rise me, no, you move to mess. No, rise me, mess. No, rise me, mess. No, rise me on the dance floor, mess. No, rise me in the bedroom, mess. No, rise me, no, you want to mess. No, rise me,
Jordan Gomez. Jordan Gomez. Come on back and take a bow, Jordan. Jordan Gomez from France. That's fantastic. That is a great act. That is a fantastic reset. Ready for the next table. That is unbelievable. I mean, even when you see him set it up, it's 10 minutes of complete eye candy. That's quite amazing. Let me see. I should mention that, well, this has been mentioned before. We want your questions. Your comments are good. Your questions are better. We love your questions, and we're going to have a chance to answer as many of those as we can a little earlier. Also, photographs. We'd love to see what you look like at EMC, since you get to see what we look like. So take a picture of yourself or your buddies and what's going on at your place and email it into EMC. We'd like to see that. Now, I know for myself this is true. Came from a pretty average family. My dad was a school administrator. I know most of the folks here. Their parents were pretty normal. Imagine if your father was David Berglas. It seems like an unfair advantage, actually, to me. But that is the case that this next speaker found himself in. He has a very famous father in magic, but he has blazed his own trail in the world of magic. And by that, I mean he has created Marvin's Magic, and he's going to tell us all about that and all about how to get ahead in this field that we love. Please welcome Marvin Berglas.
First-class magician Marvin Berglas is internationally recognized as a leading light in magic and has inspired literally millions of young magicians worldwide. Not only has Marvin put magic back in the spotlight, he has also been very much in the spotlight himself. His innovative performances have amazed and delighted audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. Sports personalities, politicians, and even pop stars can be counted as fans of Marvin's magic.
That was cool. That's awesome, man. That's impressive. You've got to teach me that.
Show business. It's made up of two words, show and business. And in my opinion, we should pay as much attention to our business skills as we do the magic in our shows. Why? Because that way you'll be able to build your brand and raise your profile and, of course, increase your income far quicker once you've learned the necessary skills, for example, to close a big deal or negotiate a fee. Now, if you're serious about your career, these skills are probably as important, if not more important, than let's say, learning the next new move. I mean, ask yourself these questions and be honest with yourself. Are you entertaining? Do you have a show that enough people want to pay to see? Now, if the answer is no and you're not quite there yet, well, you're at the best possible conference to be inspired by some great artists, and I'm truly honored to be amongst you here at EMC. It's an absolute privilege. If the answer, though, was yes, you are entertaining, why are you only, say, let's say, doing 1 or 2 shows a week? Or if you are working constantly, is magic giving you the lifestyle you think you deserve? Well, only marketing will help you achieve your goals. So your magic or your marketing, what's really more important? Well, assuming you are good, then in fact, it's actually even more important now to be a good marketer than it is to be a good magician. And perhaps you find that a bit controversial, but I think you'll agree in magic, knowing sleight of hand and all the intricate moves are not as important as showmanship. In other words, even if you know the moves, unless you're entertaining, you're unlikely to get repeat bookings. Well, it's the same without marketing. With marketing, good marketing, doesn't matter how good your show is, unless enough potential people have seen you, you're not going to get booked. So, marketing is clearly the key to building up your brand and your profile, and I don't need to mention income anymore, because that'll automatically follow. Okay, who am I to give my opinion? Well, I'm Marvin Berglas, the man behind Marvin's Magic, and I'm told it's one of the biggest and most successful brands in magic. I think you just heard that I'm the son of David Berglas, which I'm immensely proud of. And obviously, having a father that is a magic legend has advantages, as Mike said, and some disadvantages, let me tell you. Because occasionally you are open to comparison. And clearly, he's a hard act to follow. But let me tell you, he's also inspired us in so many ways and taught us about creativity and free thinking, and that nothing was impossible. Actually, I decided to carve out my own career in magic, and I went totally a different way. I wanted to make my own name as well. And, but I use every day some of the things he's shown us about free thinking, and I've done that since a real early age. In fact, if you look at this slide here, this is me and my dad. I'm the one with the glasses on. And they skip a generation now. I've got my little boys to inspire as well. So during the past 24 years, I've built up with my team from a simple idea to a business that now consistently delivers each year multi-million-pound turnover, designing, marketing, and selling in 64 countries worldwide. I get a real buzz when fellow magicians and even professional performers come up to me and they tell me it was one of my sets that started them off. It was their first introduction to magic. It started in 1987 when I created the Maven's Magic Shop concept in Hamleys, the famous toy store in London, and Harrods soon followed. Our range was all about great design and great packaging and great presentation. And in these high-profile and high-footfall stores, we provided what's known as reselltainment. We also called it ESP, not extrasensory perception, although in the early days, even I didn't know what I was thinking, I'm telling you. Now, ESP for us stood for Entertaining Sales Presentations. Our method of selling was by our teams of in-store magicians who demonstrated and presented to thousands of people each and every day. And that meant over the years, we sold millions, yes, literally millions and millions of magic tricks. Our demonstrators had coached the Maven's Magic Way, and surprisingly, 24 years on, we're still learning and improving, but we're still recognized to have the best demonstrators in the business. Our past demonstrators who came through the ranks have included dozens of magicians, actors, and artists. It's a who's who of magic. Thinking of Andy Nyman, Anthony Owen, Mark Paul, Guy Hollingsworth, he used to sell Svengalis using a regular pack. And even Pete Wardell, who's another guest speaker here at the EMC. And what's great is that they've all acknowledged the start it gave them. I mean, where else can a young performer be exposed to so many people each day to practice their craft and hone their skills? We even paid them. In fact, one of them went on to be a top trade show magician, and he said that doing trade show work was actually just big boys Maven's magic. We all learned from each other, myself included, because I started on the shop floor, and I can tell you there was no better place to gain experiences that I still use to this day in both business and performances. It's like doing any show. You only had the first few seconds to gain their attention and hold on to an audience whilst demonstrating. And you needed to earn their trust and respect and deal with all manner of questions and comments, and at the same time turning their interest into a sale. And your applause equivalent was when they decided to buy. We then wanted to expand our brand, and so we developed other products which didn't need demonstrators and could sell themselves, relying instead on innovative, striking, well-designed packaging. We also expanded our ranges, providing magic for differing age groups. We then looked to expand our markets, and we started to be seen around the world in toy stores, gift shops, supermarkets, multiple chain stores, catalogs, airports, and even on board airlines. Soon after, I hosted the QVC, the TV shopping channel, when it first opened in the UK in 1994. And we often had 2-hour live magic shows. It was great brand exposure. And it led to shows on other shopping channels around the world, including QVC USA, which went into 63 million homes. In fact, I've now clocked up, I think, 200 hours of live TV. Interestingly, the magic products were at best only steady, but we broke all records with one of our other products, the Maven's Magic Drawing Board. Our infomercial went to #1 in the infomercial charts, and it stayed in the top 10 for over 60 weeks. Now, these types of initiatives help bring us attention, and big companies then started coming to us to help promote their brands by partnering with us on a sort of license basis. Indeed, it was Maven's Magic was featured in campaigns for the likes of chains like KFC and Arby's. We did cover mounts for National Geographic, And I've even been featured on millions of packs of egg boxes, milk cartons, cereal packets. My kids nearly choked when they saw it at breakfast. We also have a huge online following with our Marvin's Magic Club, and just this week we've launched the Marvin's Magic Schools at the O2 Arena in London. All these offshoots came from the initial simple idea of Marvin's Magic, but with continual marketing, it's developed and grown as a brand in many directions. Now you may now be thinking, well, how does this relate to me? Well, by applying the same strategies to your marketing, you'll build your brand, and most of you, you are your brand. Ironically, my marketing was all instinctive. It's only now, when I analyze things, I see that I did indeed follow in classic marketing principles. Because marketing gurus teach that there are 3 and only 3 ways that you can build your business. Simplified, they are increase the number of clients you've got, then increase how much they spend, and increase how often they spend. Now, at this stage, I'd like to apologize ahead of time for perhaps telling you 1 or 2 things you may already know, but I make no apologies, however, for taking this opportunity to remind you. Because whether you're hearing these things for the first time or just hearing them as a reminder, some of these secrets could be the most valuable at the conference. There's probably just as much mystique in marketing as there is in magic, but to simplify things and stripping out all the mumbo-jumbo, marketing is, in my opinion, an attitude of thought and creativity. Strategies and tactics that, like all magic, require learning and practice. And it's a mindset, it's a way of thinking about yourself and your business, and also shifting the focus towards your clients. It's a process of figuring out who you are, who your clients are, what they want, and giving it to them in the best way possible. So, first you need to commit. Commit to setting your goals and maximizing your potential. This has to be your motivation to start with. They've got to be realistic expectations and measurable goals, but nevertheless, they've got to drive you. So once you've done that, only then can we explore ways of achieving your goals through marketing yourself. Next, you need to consider. Consider who you are, define you, and then choose your markets accordingly. Find viable markets to suit you. They could be trade shows, children's shows, corporate. For me, it's niche markets. I love soccer, for example, and Arsenal is my team. So come rain or shine, I'll be there supporting my club. And 18 years ago, I came up with the idea of providing entertainment and for their VIPs and sponsors, because hospitality is now big business in stadiums and arenas. And when I was the first resident magician in the English Premier League. Nowadays, at every match, I'm there with a team of top magicians entertaining. It's a case of mixing business and pleasure. So use your interests and hobbies to find some niche markets. It could be golf or music, or most likely within a specific trade or industry. Okay, so now you've got to create. Paul talked about this before, but creative plan, it should have various forms of attack. And you know what? You should keep disciplined and also aim to work within a pre-specified budget. Now let's look at 4 surefire ways to get more business. These 4 ways will definitely help. If each one of these can be improved by just say 25%, you'll double your income. The first is to capture constant inquiries. Your attitude should be to try to make it a fun challenge for yourself rather than a chore. If you're out there performing, it's usually the case, the more shows you do, the more people will see you and they'll inquire after you. So if one show equals 2 or 3 inquiries, challenge yourself to up your inquiry rate. Now, as an entertainer, giving out business cards when asked is considered the norm. But to me, if you're getting well paid for a gig, I feel it can seem a bit blatant at that time or a bit too commercial when you're there to entertain people. I prefer instead to reinforce my name during the performance and have any positive feedback directed back to the client. That way it's more memorable, an innovative way that you can naturally leave your details. Maybe you could sort out a branded souvenir, a signed card, could be put as a little keepsake. People tend to keep those. They're cherished keepsakes. Okay. During your working week, a good discipline is to set aside some time to email prospective clients. Rather than sending out a show reel or a glossy brochure at this stage, a quick email with genuine testimonials will mean more and is more likely to build a relationship with a prospective new client. Now, clearly, the internet's the fastest growing tool for creating awareness. You guys know, you're out there, especially now with all the social media. But it's not necessarily my area of expertise, but I'm fascinated by the immediacy and the impact it makes. Another way to promote yourself and create attention is, of course, advertising. But this requires caution, as it has to be targeted to your specific market. Just make sure your advert and copy always has impact, and it's honest, and of course it has focus. You should always try and measure the effectiveness of a campaign. I mean, it could be as simple as a specific offer or promotion, so you can work out actually what came back from that advert. Okay, as magicians, we generate interest and leads from any editorial coverage in the media. You can devise newsworthy angles, publicity stunts, photo opportunities, predictions. We've had tremendous media attention during our time, appearing regularly in the press, on the front page, back page, and centre sprints. We've had live magicians performing in top department store windows, which practically brought the London traffic to a standstill. Actually, that's not very hard, it normally is. Me and my products are featured in blockbuster movies, on billboards, even in Times Square. We've got our branded London taxi, which is spotted outside all the best tourist spots, so I'm told. People assumed we had a fleet of these taxis. The secret was we just had the one, actually, for a short time. But we photographed it and showed these, and it appeared regularly time and time again. And, you know, sometimes the method is cleverer than the effect. Remember to take care of your existing clients. Something we sometimes forget. It's so often overlooked. You're so busy trying to find new ones that you sometimes neglect looking after and taking care of your existing ones. Please don't. They're probably your most likely future income earners, and they need nurturing. They're your asset. Every one client can potentially book you several times a year, and why not for several years to come. They're also the most likely to help you with testimonials and intercompany referrals, so keep them up to date with emails and newsletters. You should also look at other ways to bring income, and it should be at a time not just when you're performing. In other words, be clever, capture and choose multiple income streams, not just your performance. I mean, if you're a kids entertainer, why not offer a package that includes supplying magical party bags? Or if you're a trade show worker, offer to supply innovative branded promotional magic giveaways. We've devised several that we know are kept long after the client, and the client's brand is always in front of them. So, many magicians put out products to sell to other magicians. Have you ever thought about putting out a trick or devising a trick that can be demonstrated and sold to the public? We'd love to hear from you. Always happy to consider good ideas. Okay, now we have a stream of constant inquiries flooding in. You're taking care of your regular clients. You're in touch with them. You're capturing other revenue streams. So now you need to make sure you can close. Negotiating and closing deals is the final piece of the jigsaw. When selling your services or negotiating your fees, to me, you have to have the right frame of mind from the outset. Always appear in control, confident, and be prepared not to do business if it really doesn't suit you. The moment you appear that you need the business, you're in a weaker situation. I've got such faith in my products and services that I actually don't feel like I'm selling at all. Instead, I'm merely advising to clients and recommending what products and services would be best for them. By being professional and sympathetic to their needs, you are perceived to be recommending. And recommending rather than selling. They'll value your expertise. It really will be appreciated. If a client has to provide a magician and thinks of them just as a commodity, they're clearly going to start off by looking at the least expensive. And in that case, I'd aim simply to re-educate them. A line I use to clients is, we find that following a function, guests tend to remember just two things: the food and the entertainment. And I'd advise not to skimp on either. That normally strikes the chord, and it also conditions them that, like anything, there are differing standards to justify price variances. Now, I've heard it said that negotiating is the highest paying work you can ever engage in. For example, a magician could spend 10 years developing a show that he can charge $1,000 for, but 10 minutes learn the words that can sell the same show for the same client for $2,000. 10 years for the first 1,000, 10 minutes for the next. Well, I've divulged the 7 secrets that work for me, the exact ones I use to build my brand, and I really hope you find these helpful to apply to building your brand and raising your profile. But one little extra secret that's not in the 7 secret rule book, the 8th one if you like, the one they don't ever tell you. Come here. Rules can be broken. Sometimes there are no rules. And you know what? It's fun to innovate and sometimes break the mold and do things that in the beginning only you might passionately believe in. As long as you're enthusiastic, prepared to listen occasionally, have a really positive attitude and outlook, and always act with integrity, I believe your passion and enthusiasm will be infectious and people will want to associate with you. Remember, that's show business. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Marvin Berglas. Our next speaker is one of the organizers of EMC, and for that he has all of our undying thanks. Without him and the rest of the team, none of us would be here. And in his many, many magazine articles and many books that he has written and talks that he has given around the world, he always has something interesting to say, and this afternoon is no different. The subject this afternoon is the psychological magic of Chan Canasta. He literally wrote the book on this amazing man. Please welcome David Britland. David?
Hi, thank you. So Chan Canasta, for me, was the first psychological illusionist. He took psychology and magic, combined them to create psycho-magic. And in fact, on his brochure, you can actually see the word, I think it's Chan Mifaloff Experiments in Psycho-Magic. He was the psycho-magician. It never caught on, at least the term. But the newspapers thought of a new way to describe him, the psychological illusionist. And this is in 1960, before the term we're now using now to describe mentalists. Today, everybody is a psychological illusionist, although it's more like the illusion of psychology. Canasta was different. He actually tried to use psychological principles. Now, in magic, what do we mean by a psychological principle? There's not really a firm definition of this, but we think of effects like asking a spectator to think of a number from 1 to 10, and we hope they'll say 7. Think of a color, maybe they'll think of red or blue. Ask them to name a playing card. It might be the Queen of Hearts, it might be the Ace of Spades. The problem is, it might not be. Psychologists call these population stereotypes. You can sort of take a poll of people's opinions, you'll get a high percentage that people will think of red or blue. But have one spectator in front of you and depend on an effect finishing with the color red or blue, that's high risk. Canasta took those risks. We're going to have a little bit of footage in a moment of a trick with books, a book test. He called it an experiment with books. He called everything experiments. Have a little look, and I'll make some comments in a moment. Thank you.
Permit me of using this. Oh, this is in the best families, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know, I'm joking really, because the title scared me off. I really didn't look through it. And it's by Rex Stout, in the best of families. It's a novel. How many pages in this book altogether?
246.
246. I do not know it by heart, do I?
I doubt it.
No, I do not. And I'm not going to give anybody cards or anything to select a page. I'm going to ask you, by showing you pages numbers like this, would you please kindly look down towards the pages, and from all these different pages, would you please select a number of a page in your mind? Have you? And for a brief moment, please think of your page. Now, ladies and gentlemen, every page here has several printed lines in it. About how many lines would you say? About 30, 35. Would you please select any line that you wish? And tell us.
21.
21. Please do not tell us your page. Sir, which word in succession would you like me to tell you?
Number 6.
Number 6. Please hold it. Means I'm supposed to know the 6th word on line 21 on your page, which I do not know. Think of your page. I think it goes like this. Something. Me, I call him a liar. Me or something, I call him a liar. So the word liar, L-I-A-R, full stop. Liar is the 6th word on the 21st line. Is that what you wanted? In this book, on any page that you may wish that you have chosen. What is your page?
80.
I beg your pardon?
80.
80, are you sure?
Absolutely.
So please open it on 80. And let's go carefully down to the 70, 78, 79, 80, the 21st line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and with this will be 20th, one line off. Oh no, 21, right here. Me. Read it. Me.
I hereby call him a damn liar.
I didn't want to mention his name. I omitted one word. Me, I hereby call him a liar. Right? So there you are. That's your 6th word for a liar on page 80, line 21. Let me show to the camera. We get time still. Do we? I think I'll slowly come to the camera here. And let me show you that on page 80, I think it's page 80 right here, you can see. Can you? Right here. I don't think you can. Can you see it now? Where my finger is. Me, I hereby call him a liar. Me, I hereby call him a liar. And that's exactly what's on the page. And thank you very much indeed.
Now, as you can see, that was before the zoom lens was invented. Right. Goodliff Neal of Abracadabra was the weekly magazine in Britain at that time, said this was the greatest book test he'd ever seen. It baffled magicians, it baffled the public. The book test became associated with canasta, and newspapers wrote about it. In 1960, the People newspaper published a headline, "Chan Canasta's secrets are out." He had a TV series at the time. This is not the kind of headline you want to see. When you read further, we put him on the spot and solved the great book trick. Well, they interviewed Canasta, and they asked him how he did his tricks, and he kind of half explained it. And this was the conclusion that the People newspaper arrived at. The key to all Canasta's feats is a fabulous memory, intense powers of observation, skill with sorting and forcing cards, and a brilliant and intuitive knowledge of human behavior. It's an exposure article, and it turns into an endorsement. At the end of this year, they run a 3-part series with Chan Canasta, Train Your Brain with Chan Canasta. So they bought into the idea that he was a psychologist. He didn't call anything a trick. Every item, every routine was an experiment, and that's what people were watching. Now, he took this a stage further with playing cards. Actually, I'll go back a little bit. He actually explained the trick. He explained the trick to the newspaper, and I can read a little bit out from that. Let me just get to this. How was the book trick done? He actually said to them, "When my victims flick through the pages of the book, I'm standing right beside them." And I think we have a slide from the show. I'm standing right beside them. I imagine I am them. I see what they see, and I note from their reaction which page they are most likely to choose. And this was true. He was doing a version of the psychological riffle force with a deck of cards. He did this to the public, the psychological riffle force, and he took it one step further. Usually as magicians, we have a step or a short card in the deck, and we riffle the deck to the spectator. We expose one card longer than the others, and we hope that's the one they will remember. He didn't do it like that. He held the deck out at arm's length, riffled the deck. There would be a hesitation, but it wasn't pre-planned. The spectator's looking at the deck, and so is Canasta. He sees what they see. It's the same as the book test. He stands next to them and sees what they see. He was also interested in expanding his performance beyond the immediate, into sort of interactive magic. And in 1953, they showed a film in the cinemas called The Amazing Mr. Canasta. And he does the riffle force with a deck of cards. And this time inviting everybody in the cinema to look at the cards and think of one. And the amazing Mr. Canasta will guess which one it is. And he did. And he named the card. This was 40 years before David Blaine did the same thing on television. Taking that a step further, so he's been on television live, he's been in the cinema, he works the variety theatres, and he also gets to print. What can you do as an interactive piece of magic in print? We have the cover of the Radio Times, I think, from 1960. Which card is Chan Canasta thinking of? I think there's 13 cards there. And if you have a look at some detail, we can maybe see what Chan was trying to do. He's trying to influence you to think of a card. And he's doing this by arranging the cards in different ways. You can't see the color very well here, but there are red cards and there are black cards, and he's trying to outguess you. And if you turn to page 3, you then find out which card Chan Canasta was thinking of, the 5 of spades. He's trying, it is a psychological trick. How informed it is, we don't really know, but he used this kind of thing in his work all the time. In 1966, he created a whole book of interactive magic. The book that read your mind is the Book of Oopsies. There's like 12 tricks, mathematical or psychological. If we just have a look at one of the pages, here's a typical experiment. The instructions here are for the spectator to look at the 4 boxes and choose a word from each box to make a simple sentence. So you might end up with Bob loves the blue cat, or you might not. You turn to the back of the book and he tries to predict which of these words you select. Canasta was a painter, and he did. When people asked him, did your painting influence your psychological magic, he always said no. It's very difficult to believe that someone who's a painter and is used to sort of controlling where the eye looks didn't have something in mind when he created these tests. I'm going to have a look at another. Actually, the other person that was interested in psychology of magic was Dave Vernon. I think we have a slide of Dave Vernon's 5-card mental force. So here they are. It's in the Encyclopedia of Card Tricks if you want to look it up. It's in one of Vernon's very early private manuscripts. Vernon would have 5 cards and invite you to think of one of them. At different times, he had different patter about trying to guide you to the specific card. The 4th card actually is the 4 of hearts. There is some research, not a lot I don't think, maybe Richard Wiseman can correct me, I'm sure he will, says that the 2nd card from the right is the most likely to be chosen. In the 1930s, a psychologist called Frederick Lund looked into ESP cards, which ESP cards would be most likely to be chosen. This, I think, relating to the ESP experiments that were on at the time. And he decided if you sort of laid out cards, then the star was a preferred symbol, and the 2nd position from the end was a good slot to put a star there. And later years, we see Uri Geller on TV doing interactive magic with 5 symbols, and the star is the 2nd from the right, and lots of people phone up to say that's the symbol they're thinking of. Vernon actually said that he was inspired by a book on psychology to come up with this effect. He didn't remember what the book was, and I've not been able to find it. Chan, the difference with Chan Canasta is he would rely on something as vague as this, and many magicians have tried this kind of effect, and there's not really many doing it as part of a solid repertoire, but Canasta was prepared to fail at this. He was prepared to fail on television with a thing like this. He would make a selection from a few cards, the climax of a much longer routine. For instance, he would have a card chosen from one deck, and then he would lay down 4 or 5 cards from another deck and put them in front of a lady and say, you will now choose the card that was chosen by the first spectator. And she would say, how could I? He says, but you can. If you believe it, you will choose it. Whatever you want will be. And he encouraged them by this sort of positive affirmation. You can do it. It wasn't a challenge. One of the problems with the Vernon idea really is that as soon as you're a magician laying down 5 cards and saying, I'm going to predict what you choose, you're in a challenge position. People are trying to do things to outwit you. And now you have to sort of set up double bluffs. Canasta didn't do that. He tried to make use of the natural instinct, if it is true, if the research by psychologists is true, that you will choose the 2nd card from the right. He tried to encourage you to feel, yes, I will pick that. One of my favorite moments with cards and psychology with Chan Canasta, we're going to see in a moment. It's called an experiment in remote control. It's a very, very simple effect, and you get so much out of it. It's very high risk. It can go disastrously wrong. But have a look at the video now and just see what he does to make this effect work. An experiment in remote control.
Would you please hold a stack of cards in your hand? Wait, this hand? No, in the hand. This hand. Oh, but joking apart, this is a very serious experiment now. shouldn't laugh. No, we will laugh before, we would laugh after, but not during. No. Have to, so maybe straight face like that. You make me laugh, really. Sorry. It's all right. I like it. I like to. Now, the following experiment I usually term an experiment in remote control, which to many people sound very odd. Remote control and all that. But actually it is. Because from now on, I shall not touch the cards. I shall not look at the cards. I shall not even look at you, sir. With your permission. Thank you. Thank you. Now, would you please first of all look at the cards in your hand to ascertain they're all different once again. They really are. And would you now please place them? No, don't count them. No, I'm just looking. Yes. Oh, sorry, they're all different. Yeah. Place them behind your back. Don't count them because there may be 53 there, you see. Don't do anything. No. Now, when I ask you, and not before, would you please just do this? When I ask you and I snap my fingers like this, would you please just cut the cards once like this behind your back? Do it now. Yeah. Have you done so? Yeah. Hold them together. Now, would you please take the first card from the top of the pack? Do not look at it. No. Place it in your right-hand pocket, sight unseen. Have you? Yes. Now, would you please take the first card from the top of the pack right now, and sight unseen, place it into your left-hand pocket. The next one, not from the top? Yes, into your left-hand pocket, without looking at the card. I've not seen that thing yet. Thank you. Do you know the two cards that you've selected? No idea. Do I know them? I don't see how you can possibly know. How can I possibly know? Now look at the cards again in your hand. Now look at the cards that you hold. Yes. And it's shown all again. They're all different cards here, right? Yes. Now, so nobody could know what the cards are. But of course I know. And you know why. No. Because they expect me to. The only reason under the sun. So I know the two cards that you've selected. And I will tell you the two cards that you have in your pockets. Yet you, sir, on your own and by yourself, will tell us exactly in which pocket you have which card. And you will do so without looking at your pockets. And what's more, if you remember the experiment from before, no matter how he decides, no matter what he says, whatever he says will be. And then, after he decided and told us, we shall give you, sir, 7 or 8 seconds to change your mind. If you change your mind, the cards will change, as you asked before. If you do not change your mind, the cards will not change, so do anything you wish, pertaining to your questions you've asked before. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I think the following are the two cards in your pocket, sir. One is a red card, one is a black card. The black one is a 3 of clubs, the red one the 10 of diamonds. The 10 of diamonds, the 3 of clubs. Whatever you decide, sir, tell us in which pocket you would like to have which card. It will be so. Then we'll give you time to change your mind if you wish, or not, or whatever you say. Am I confusing you? No. Do you remember the two cards I told you? Oh, yes. You do. 10 of diamonds, 3 clubs, yeah. What? 10 of diamonds, 3 clubs. You sound like it's going to happen. You have the 3 of clubs. I beg your pardon. And the 10 of diamonds. And the 10 of diamonds. Right, sir, and decide upon your decision. Rests the whole thing here. Whatever you say, say. But I'm only guessing. No. Decide whatever you say will be. Oh, I see. You can then change your guess or decision. The onus is on you. And you will be right. Yes. Well, say it. All right, then. All right, then. The 10 of diamonds is where? Left or right, isn't it? It doesn't matter, yes. Say my right pocket. 10 of Wonderful. Diamonds. Please remember what you said. 10 of diamonds, ladies and gentlemen. Please remember, 10 of diamonds is in your right pocket. Yes. Good. And the 3 of clubs, sir, in your left pocket. Please remember that. 10 of diamonds, where, sir? Right pocket. 3 of clubs, where, sir? Left pocket. Wonderful. Now, sir, now I know that you remember. Now, come on, don't confuse yourself. That's all right. I just reminded myself. Please. Well, once again, where? 10 of diamonds, where? The right pocket. Good. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, now I announce that this is exactly as he said, but as we said before, I have to give him at least 7 seconds to change his mind. Amazing as it may sound to you, sir, if you change your mind, you don't have to change it, by the way. If you do change your mind, however, the cards will change. If you do not change your mind, the cards will stay as they are. You don't have to change your mind, therefore. But I have to give you the 7 seconds. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Stop, I changed my mind. The 10 of diamonds is now in my left pocket. Well, take it out. 10 of diamonds. Yes. Take it out. What is it? 10 of diamonds. And a 3 of clubs. Take it out. Thank you very much. 3 of clubs. Thank you. Why did you change your mind?
Well, because I got a feeling that...
I was exuberant and happy that you decided first?
Yes.
That's why you changed your
And I
mind?
didn't think many people changed their mind.
But you've asked that question before.
Yes.
And now you've changed it.
But I don't know the answer now.
Okay. Anybody watching the broadcast today can do this trick, and it will work 50% of the time. But imagine you're on television, and now your trick only works half the time. Suddenly the odds don't seem so good. But Chankanasta would do it. Paul Daniels, remember, he wrote to Lewis that Chankanasta used the 8 kings setup, and every magician in the country could call the cards out before Chankanasta called them out on TV. Right? But they wouldn't do that trick. And he failed a lot. Sometimes that trick didn't work. The public didn't care. The public knew it wasn't about the cards and the numbers. They were experiments, and they were about people, and they were about the choices they made and the way they could be influenced, and they found that fascinating. That's all I have to say. Chankanasta, the first psychological illusionist. Thank you.
Thank you, David. David Britland. That is fascinating. So we have another organizer of EMC, and I know that some of you at home are probably wondering, why does this event take place in the middle of Portugal, of all places? But everyone who has come here knows the answer to that. It is because of what this amazing Studio 33 is turned into for this week, which we see before us here. It is the unbelievable team behind the scenes that makes it all happen. I honestly don't know where else this could happen, except for right here where it is happening. I remember when I came here the first time, the walls were up, and I think the roof was barely on, and when I see it today, it's truly unbelievable. So it's time for some magic. That's what we're here to see, mainly, and that's what we're going to get right now. So the face of EMC, my good friend, Luis de Matos.
Thank you, Caveman. Chief Executive at LMP West Coast Office. Hello, everyone. Yeah, of course, I always want to share all sorts of, anytime, all the time. All this credit is not mine. I want to share it with Marco Tempest and David Britland and the amazing team, and mostly with everyone that believed at EMC from the first moment. And I'm talking about you, dear speakers. Thank you for being here. So, what I'm about to share with you, it's a routine that usually I present in front of lay audience. And whenever I do so, I need the help of a normal spectator, which is quite difficult in this room. But I was very lucky, and I would like you to welcome Miss Debbie McGee. Thank you so much, Debbie. Please have a seat. It's a big honor to be able to present this idea to you, because it's an idea. It's an idea that I try to fight. Some of the normal spectators I find in life, they think that the pockets of the magician's clothes, they have tricks and special things. You don't believe that? More or less.
I do.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's exactly the correct answer, because then gives me the opportunity of trying to examine mine. So this is a normal pocket, nothing special. Yeah, you can see it's a normal pocket from my trousers. In fact, you can examine it a little bit closer, and you can see there's nothing really special about this. Okay, so I'll ask you to pull the pocket inside out, please, so we can see that is good fabric, nothing special, nothing fancy. Yes? Nice? Yeah? Okay, perfect. So we will not only use this pocket, but we'll also use something very mysterious, magic. It's a true mystery that sometimes we don't pay attention, which is an egg. Yes. And let's do this under controlled conditions. So I'm going to take the egg and place it inside the pocket. Then I'm going to go and the egg is gone. And I'll ask you to check that the egg is gone.
Yep.
It is gone. And then we go and then the egg is back again. Yes, no, that's fine. It probably, from the angle they are seeing, is not as spectacular as from your angle. So that's very, very important that we do it very, very clearly. So I will put the egg inside my pocket. Some people at this stage, they go, yeah, right, the egg is not there anymore, but I would like you to check by touching the egg. It is there. Okay, now comes the beautiful moment when I just grab the egg and make it disappear. And this is exactly the moment where a normal audience would go just crazy of clapping. But no, it's not what I expect anyway, especially because we need to check it. Can you bring it inside out, please? Yes, beautiful. Here it is. And as we can see, there's no zips, no velcros, no nothing. You can even pass your hand on top of mine, please. Yes, very, very good. So we will try to make this egg reappear inside my pocket, but under, again, controlled conditions. So Debbie, I'll ask you to please hold my wrists here and my wrist there. Very good. And please check there's nothing inside. Okay, do not allow me to do fast moves. I will just come here, grab the imaginary egg, throw it in the air, catch it here, and then, yes, the egg is back. Wow. Well, let's take it a step further. I'm going to ask you to please put your 4 fingers inside the bag, and with the thumbs, yes, perfect. I will just leave the egg here like that in equilibrium, which is already something really spectacular, and I will try to make it vanish very slow. In order to do so, I just come here, I grab the egg and make it disappear. Some people might be very skeptical at this stage and might say, oh yeah, right, it didn't disappear, but yes, it did, and that is the magic. Now, we can do this even in a way, in a more spectacular. First of all, we need, of course, again, there's no zips, there's no velcros, there's nothing. Anytime during the experiment we can, yes, good. And I'm going to ask you to do exactly the same thing you did before. So I'm going to ask you to hold the bag in the same way, so that, yes, good, 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 perfect. And now hold tight with the left hand and release with the right one. Please imagine to grab an imaginary egg right there. No, not that one. So, yeah, maybe this one. Perfect. Bring your hand down, throw it in the air. It's going to go up, up, up. There's going to be a moment where it stops. It just did.
I would only do this for you, Lewis. No.
I know. And now it's going to start coming down, and it's there. And now you take it out and you show it to everyone, pretending you don't know how the trick is done. Very good. A big applause to Debbie McGee. Well, there's one thing very, very, very important, and that thing is that because I love enigmas, and there's always an old enigma that tells us that we never know what came first, if it was the egg or the chicken. And this is my souvenir for your garden back home. Thank you very much. And there's another thing. There's another thing I must say. I grew up in magic, copying Paul Daniels. And in order to close my file, I need to finish this moment by saying, please give a big round of applause to my lovely Debbie McGee. Done. Thank you. Thanks so much,
Luis
Debbie.
de Matos, Debbie McGee. I will get this. Oh. Wow. Hey, that is very nice, huh? I know. I'm not going to sit in that one. Don't worry, Joaquin. That is fantastic. I fooled myself. You know, that trick with the egg in the bag would be a lot better with a big chicken and about 30. Well, maybe not. I don't know. We have one final speaker this afternoon, and I am a big fan of this gentleman. On 4 different occasions, my friends John Gahn and Jim Steinmeier and I brought him to Los Angeles. Actually, he brought himself to Los Angeles, and we invited him to speak at the Los Angeles Conference on Magic History. He is always interesting. He always has a fascinating subject. He comes to us from Edinburgh, Scotland. Here is Peter Lamont.
Thank you. I'm just thinking, I know it's 18 minutes, but David was talking about experiments, and we were talking at breakfast, Topaz and me, about a theory in magic, that everything is better with confetti. And after listening to Paul, I thought I'll grab the opportunity. So I'm going to walk on again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Lamont.
Clearly that wasn't scripted, or it would have been edited out. But the thing about EMC is that you do get inspired by the earlier talks. And yesterday I was inspired by Danny's talk. And so I am also today going to try to give my lecture in English. This is going to be a profound thing, followed by very quickly, some practical stuff. That's the idea. Here's the profound bit, in case you can't tell the difference. So for you at home, but also for you people here, what are you doing right now? What are you doing? You are sitting down, you are breathing, and you're aware that you're breathing, and you're sitting down. And you're looking at the computer screen, and you're listening to this sentence, and now you're listening to this one. And as you're listening to this one, right now, at this moment, this one here, not this one, that one, right there, you were not aware that you were breathing and sitting down. That's the profound bit. The point is that no matter what we're doing, we can define what we're doing in many ways. And if we redefine it in another way, that changes what we think we're doing. It changes our experience. So what's this got to do with magic? Well, everything, I suppose, but we've got less than 18 minutes left, so let's do it this way. We do effects, and we define our effects, usually in the obvious way. But we can always redefine any effect that you do, you can redefine in some other way, some less obvious way perhaps, and that can change what the audience sees and thinks. Right, that's the abstract stuff. An example. Give an example. This is the most basic example I could think of. A wee yellow ball. We squeeze a little yellow ball and it won't be yellow anymore. It becomes completely invisible, and you can see just how invisible that ball is until we wave it back to its original colour. Now, what am I doing? In terms of the method, it's fairly obvious. It's just a false transfer, and normally we use a false transfer to make things disappear. But in this case, I'm defining the effect not as the ball disappears, but the ball becomes invisible. It's a transformation from visible to invisible. What's the difference, you might ask? Well, here's the difference. People will look at an invisible ball. They won't see it, but they will look at it. And they won't look at it for long. But they'll look at it for a moment. Nobody looks at a ball that's no longer there. They look to see where the ball might have gone. So by defining the effect as the ball becomes invisible, you can direct attention for a moment up here towards the effect, and away from here over by the method. So it's just an illustration, it's not a great trick, an illustration of how you can, in this case, direct attention. Let me give you another example. I don't know how this will look on camera, but I'm going to tell you in advance what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put the coin into the hand, turn the hand over, and the coin is going to shoot up the sleeve. That's what's going to happen, so there'll be no surprises. Here we go, into the hand. It's going to shoot. Let me just pull this up a bit so it's more impressive. And there it goes, and there it is, up the sleeve. Now, what am I doing? Well, in terms of the method, again, it's a false transfer. In this case, a retention of vision transfer. You'll find this in the literature. I'm sure people around here can tell you where to get it. Usually it's used as to vanish the coin, retention of vision, vanish. But in this case, I'm defining it not as a vanish, but as a transposition from here to here. I'm also doing that explicitly in advance. I'm telling you in advance what I'm going to do. And that, of course, is breaking a cardinal rule in magic. You should never tell the audience what you're going to do. It's something that's been around for a long time. I was taught it as a child when I was first learning magic. An old magician took me to the corner. He said, "Peter, whatever happens, never tell the audience what you're going to do." And I never forgot that. So much so that when I began to perform professionally, I used to be introduced as a singer. But frankly, I thought I deserved better, but that's okay. But I'm breaking that rule now. Why? Okay, a couple of things. First of all, retention of vision vanish is supposed to look convincing, but no matter how convincing it is, once it's gone, where could it be? So we have to do something. In this case, a bit like the last one, the transposition from here to here focuses attention here, but for longer now, because something is going to happen, and away from where the coin actually is. The second thing is that the retention and vision transfer is not the most natural action in the world. Several people have pointed this out. It's not natural to spend so much time putting the coin into the hand. Now, one way to try to deal with unnatural actions is to familiarise the audience with the actions in advance. So in this case, by putting the coin into the hand, using the real action, the second time when they see a very similar action, it should look less unnatural because they're already familiar with it. That's the basic idea. It's just an illustration here, it's not a perfect trick, of the sort of thing I'm talking about. Let me try and show you now a trick, which actually involves a story, which is not my usual thing, but it's necessary, I think, to make the point. This is a story about a man called Lucky Jack, and Lucky Jack was a sailor and a drunk, oopsie-daisy, and an acrobat, who drank for free because everyone wanted to hear the story of how he came to be known as Lucky Jack. So this is the story of Lucky Jack, and not a word of it is true. Lucky Jack had only one eye and only one leg. For that reason, at the time, he was known merely as Jack. But all that changed one day when his ship hit a storm, and with only one leg, Jack began to lose his balance. Sorry, I've heard the next bit. He grabbed for a rope, but he missed because, with only one eye, he was unable to judge distance properly. And so the smart ones are laughing. So he fell into the sea, and there was a shark, a red shark with a red fin, you get the idea, swimming towards him. He tried to swim away, but with only one leg, he ended up going in a circle. And so this is immaterial. So the shark began to cut up with him and began to tear him to pieces, first the leg, and then the arms, and then those other bits. And there he was, with no arms and no legs, floating about in the sea. At that point, he might have been remembered as Bob. But that was when his luck changed. I can't believe I'm doing this. His luck changed because the gods looked down upon Jack, and there, as he floated about in the sea, they decided to perform a miracle, and they decided to put him back together, and ever since then, he's been known as Lucky Jack. Thank you very much. So what am I doing here? Well, this is, some of you will recognise this, it's the ultimate rip-off by Paul Harris. It's a brilliant idea. I saw this many years ago, played about with the handling. I don't have time to explain the handling. I've deliberately done it in a way that some of you will be able to work it out. But if you're interested, you'll get it in Paul Harris's books, Art of Astonishment, at least. And Tommy Wonder has a handling which is similar. It's the same as mine, but it's more like mine than Paul's. But this is about the definition of the effect I'm talking about. So, what's the effect? The effect is a torn and restored card, but in this case it's not a complete restoration, it's a partial restoration. And so the question that is begging is, what about this last piece? Now, different people have had different ideas about this. Paul has an idea in the Art of Astonishment, which is very clever, and Tommy's idea was to deal with it through preparation, and others have gone for that. I came from it a different angle. The idea was, how can you turn a partial restoration into a complete restoration? So I figured, well, if this is where you end, then this is where you should begin. Because if you begin with this and end with this, then it is a complete restoration. The question then is, what is this? And so I turned lots of corners of lots of cards and looked at them until something came to me, and sadly, that's what came to me, this character Lucky Jack. Now, by redefining torn restored card to torn restored Lucky Jack, you turn a partial restoration into a complete restoration. And beyond the theory, the practical difference is that I have never been asked what about the last piece, because in this case there is no last piece. So, one more example, I think, and this is the video, Vanessa. The cue will be there shortly. I'll do something like that. This is an idea I think it's interesting. It was something that about 6 years ago, the BBC asked me to come up with a trick for a programme, and it was a very particular kind of trick. It was a trick that fooled magicians but did not fool the public. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because fooling magicians isn't so hard. We know how magicians think. Fooling the tricks that don't fool the public, they're even easier. But at the same time, that seemed like an interesting thing to do. So I thought, well, again, what's the effect? And the effect here is not the trick itself. The effect is a TV piece. Our trick is performed, magicians don't get it, the public get it. And now it's easy, now it's simple. So I'm going to show you what I did. You'll see how easy it is once you redefine it. You'll see young magicians in the audience. We used young magicians because we had to define this as a kind of education in the psychology of magic, rather than having working pros get it wrong on national television. Again, the performance, it was a one-take piece, so it's a fairly cheesy performance down at the Magic Circle. But it's the idea here that's interesting. So if we could cue the video, Vanessa, thank you.
We've invited a group of young magicians and a group of ordinary young people to watch Master of Deception, magician Peter Lamont.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A very warm. We're going to do a little card check now. We have someone from the audience that looks like they want to see a card check. There's a young lady here. A round of applause for the lady. Okay, Fiona, I'm going to show you a little trick with a pack of playing cards.
Great.
Very simple card trick. All I want you to do is reach in and pull a card out. Make sure it's a free choice.
Okay.
Look at the card.
Yes.
And show it to the audience.
Okay.
And to anybody else that might be watching. In fact, I can see it too.
You can see it
that's
too?
okay, yes.
All right.
The Queen of Spades. Queen of Spades, okay? Here's the trick, Queen of Spades. I'm going to put the card into the middle of the deck.
Okay.
And then snap my fingers, like so. And the card jumps up to the top of the deck. Yeah, but hold your applause. You have. We'll do it again, face down into the centre of the deck, like so. No funny moves, just snap of the fingers and the card.
It's up again.
The top. That's twice now. We'll try it one more time. Okay? And we'll do this one-handed. Once again. The card
amazing.
comes up to the top. Thank you very much.
A pro. A clever trick, but do our young magicians know how it's done?
I think I've got a pretty good idea how it's done.
I include a similar trick within my routine.
I call that sleight of hand because it's the things that you're doing and how you're doing it. It's not the apparatus that you're using.
It's a sleight of hand trick.
Sleight of hand, man.
Our non-magicians have come up with a rather different theory.
It might be a dummy pack.
I think maybe that all the cards were queens of spades. I think all the cards probably the same.
I think you had like the whole deck was the same card.
The magicians couldn't imagine Peter would use something as clumsy and easy to expose as a crooked deck. They assumed wrong.
So that's how easy it is. Somebody was just online asking about the sparkling purple curtain. Mark, sorry. That purple curtain is my own. I used to carry it to all my performances to give it a touch of class. And I carried that all the way from Edinburgh to London, despite a bad back and a natural Scottish fear of excess baggage charges. That's a link to it. If you haven't seen that video, that'll make no sense to you at all. And frankly, it didn't work there either. OK, so you get the idea. Redefining the effect there. Now, there's a couple of interesting points still, I think. One of them is that the young magicians there, they weren't being gullible there. They were simply making what seemed like an obvious assumption, which we all do all the time. In this case, that I was performing the ambitious card. And of course, I did it in a way, to magicians, it looks like the ambitious cards. And so for them, that's what I was doing. So much so, they missed a phenomenally important piece here, which is I never showed the faces of the cards. Everyone knows who you perform the ambitious card. You have to rule out the idea you might use a duplicate. That's why we sign the card. the fact that I didn't rule it out, that's how the public got it. But the magicians didn't get that because they weren't seeing it that way. For them, it was the ambitious card, that's what they saw, and that's what they, that we all know that's done by sleight of hand. And one guy actually came up afterwards and said, you do a better top change than Guy Hollingworth, which was not the first time I've heard that, but it was the nicest time if you're watching Guy. Okay, so that's about the time up. The bottom line, the strap line, is that how you define the effect can change what the audience sees and thinks. I've spoken here about the relationship between the effect and the method, because I've only got a few minutes, but it covers everything. How do you define the effect in terms of you, for example? Topaz wrote a very good piece on this, others have. Is the effect something that you do? Is it something that you show people? Is it something that happens while you're there? These are quite different things. How do you define the effect in relation to your audience? Is it something, for example, that's intended to slay your audience? That's a way that magicians often talk. It slayed them, it killed them, it fried them, it knocked them dead. It's the language of a psychopath. Why would we want to slay our audiences? They're not the enemy. Of course, if we treat them as the enemy, they will become the enemy, and that will be what we do, and we'll end up with no audience, and we'll be as useful as, my old boss used to say, as a chocolate teapot. It's a metaphor, sure, but if the best metaphor you've got for what you do to your audience is to cause them a painful death, then maybe it's time to redefine it. It's just a suggestion, it's just what I'm thinking. Of course, it's entirely up to the individual. Anyway, either way, think about the effects that you do, how you define them in relation to whatever. Send in your ideas, let's learn, let's share, and let's collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Great. Food for thought. Very interesting. So now we have a few minutes left for some questions, and we are going to begin with Brother Paul. Paul Daniels.
I'm on.
Are there any opportunities that you missed that you regret later?
Yes, but my wife's here. I cannot talk about those women.
Debbie, go out.
Anything? What? Yes, she's gone off with Luis Tomatos.
I know.
Okay, that's all right, so long as he leaves me Vanessa. Anything that I've missed. No, I don't think so. Everything I kind of went for, I really worked very hard to get.
I think they mean like you're talking about in a performance situation, the thing with the blind girl that you capitalized on and made her feel special. After a show, did you ever feel like, oh, that's what I should have done?
No, I'm always perfect.
You're just perfect. Okay,
yeah,
good
thank
answer.
You. Next question. No,
Next question.
No, I really didn't. I mean, I'm on stage just to have a good time. And the audience come along with me and we have a party. I don't think, it's not me to be a very deep and serious performer. Other guys, great. You do your thing, I'll do mine.
Good. Paul Daniels, you are so funny and charming. Who wrote this crap?
Debbie.
Oh, Debbie McGee. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what it says. You are so funny and charming. With a predominantly comedic performing persona, are you able to create a deep and lasting moment of astonishment?
Oh, yes.
Good question.
Oh, good. Very good question. Yeah, I think all performances, no matter who's whatever, I think should have peaks, lows, drama, even within the comedy. And a lot of comics even don't get this. The gaps between the words are as powerful as the words themselves, and the pause, the look, and that's what creates impact. So yes, I can be very deep and meaningful, and from time to time I become Eugene Berger.
Now we know you're lying. Jordan Gomez. There were a lot of questions. We only have a few minutes, so I'm going to just try to pick some up. With CDs becoming less common due to digital music, do you think that they'll become viewed differently in a magic act in the next few years?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. We have to find new ideas all the time, so the CD is the same,
Well, okay. Are you going to enter FISM again?
No, with this act, I'm sorry. No, maybe if I have a new act, of course, I would like, yeah.
Right. It sort of served its purpose, I think. And quickly, magic influences. What or who influenced your magic?
Everything. Every mentalism, manipulation, but of course I love manipulation more than the other, but who, you want to know who?
Sure.
My teacher, you know, Pilou, yeah, of course, and Topaz, of course, and also all the artists who have a brain, you know, like Gaëtan Bloom, I love his work, David Stone, and Marco Tempest also, and everyone here, yeah, you know.
Very good.
Yeah.
Marvin Burglas, has your father taught you any card at any number? You'd rather not say?
No, he hasn't.
He has.
He's volunteered to do it many times, but, you know, I was always out playing football. And,
right.
you know, do I regret that now? You know, no, not really. He has actually gone through a few things, and we've had quite a few sessions. It's very hard when your father is a magic legend. It really is. I mean, I love seeing my magical heroes look up to him. It's times like this that I just get very excited about it, because it puts everything into perspective with my own performance, which I've purposely made very different. But he's such a unique person. He didn't study books or DVDs or anything. He just made his own way, and that's probably a bigger influence on me, because it helped me develop a multi-million-pound business, a nice lifestyle, which I enjoy, and I still have my own magic, and I enjoy magic as a performance and hobby. I do about 100 to 150 gigs a year, quite big things, but I don't do his style of work.
Well, and now we get to study his book, so that's great. David Britland, quickly, where did do you know where the name Chan Canasta came from? Well, I'm assuming that's not his real name.
No, Canasta he would have got from the card game, and his real name is Chan Mifaloo. Although on the brochure it's Chan Mifalov. I don't know why.
This is interesting. Do you think Chan Canasta's casual manner and the little comedy that he threw in weakened his effects at all?
Not really. I think because he was doing experiments and not magic. He wasn't trying to be mysterious. He was actually a skeptic about telepathy, so he didn't go down that route. And if you look at the modern mentalists like Darren Brown, his shows are actually very funny.
Yeah. Luis, what kind of egg bag did you use? A Malini egg bag, right?
Thank you for answering it.
Who was the inspiration for your egg bag routine?
Well, my egg bag routine, I have only two details that I came up with. First of all, I always had a problem with what is that. I'm told that Malini used to say was where his grandmother carried the money, but I always saw magicians showing it as, oh, look at this thing, and there's never explanation. So that's why I think, at least, other people might have come up with it, but I think I came up with the pocket idea.
Good solution.
And then also the little chicken at the end. And I must confess that, and I must thank him in case he's seeing, that many years ago, Johnny Thompson was performing in one of the festivals we produce. And he was leaving to Lisbon to catch the plane at 4 o'clock in the morning. I wake up at 2, and from 3 to 4, I was at his hotel room at Hotel Astoria. I have it on tape with him teaching me everything he knew about the egg bag.
A good teacher.
Thanks, Johnny.
Mike?
Yes, Max?
Can I toss in just a quick comment regarding the question about Chan Canasta?
If you don't want Peter Lamont to answer his question. No, go ahead.
The point that I think is important is that the performance clip we saw was from a television show set up as if taking place in a living room. And he was working in that style which fit that context and the intimacy also of the contact with the television viewer. When he performed in a theater situation or in a nightclub situation, the style shifted to adjust for that. So the question is it too casual? It was casual to the level it should have been for that environment, and he didn't stick to that exact level in every place he worked.
All right, good, because it was certainly strong, whatever he did.
It was perfect for that environment.
Yeah. Peter, any good books on psychology or the psychology of magic, right off the top of your head?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the obvious one is, I mean, Magic in Theory is a book that I wrote with Richard Wiseman, and it's just a way of cutting the cake, nothing more. In terms of the best stuff on psychology of magic, in my mind it's quite clear it's Juan Tamariz' stuff, because Juan, unlike some of us, knows the theory and applies it, and the two things go together beautifully. So I would just read anything by Juan.
Good. Anything by Juan Tamariz? I think that's good to close on. Thank you, one and all, our speakers. Thank you, everybody at home around the world, for tuning in. We'll be back very soon. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.